right, this is you see part 8, and I will continue right here. I hope I left off right here. This is being recorded for history of all my editing of finding the formats that you see. These are known as the first writer's formats, or that's what I'm calling them. This is how they looked and how they wrote in columns. I think there's a story in Jeremiah. There is a story in Jeremiah, I think 35 or 36, that talks about a scribe reading to the king 3 or 4 columns before he got mad and threw them out into the fireplace. But the object here is they're being revealed for the first time in a very long time. I'm thinking over 2,800 or 2,400 years is a good guess, right around there, 22 to 24. I better start. This one, I think this was a 5-verse, so I had to get rid of some text here, and this I see doesn't really matter, so I got rid of it. Oops, use that. What I'm doing is combining 24 books from the Bible to be in correct order. This was the last time I'm showing and explaining the text that I'm edited. A lot of these, like the gray words, I've completely added. This italic word over here, those were that I put in. All these other ones that are upright are straight from the text itself in order. Or I might have to rearrange a verse or two from time to time. I did start noting the Psalms going in where they were at in some places here to help people look up and see that, well, where's the staff at? Hopefully I started doing more of these because I think there's like 90 of them. So, and I'm going to go through them. They're at the bottom of this PDF. Revere to respect. This is, like I said, I'm trying to make the text for a 12-year-old to read the text and completely not go to a secular dictionary. Here I'm still deciding whether it's going to be this prophet or this prophet, even though it was found in Habakkuk. I don't think Habakkuk's at this time. I think no, that's Haggai. That's going to be when they return, but read to heard. Because a lot of people, even though they could read and write back then, it was still that they would have been hearing when they go into their meeting buildings called, I think they call them synagogues. I'm not sure. I think I've got that in the text as well, synagogue. So, wow, there's quite a bit here that's in order. The line side, yeah, all messed up there. No, it's not Syria from the last video. This piece needs to have it from Babylon just because of what's being said in the text. Because Israel will soon return. That means they're done. and the new one's coming down, the new kingdom's coming down to uh, take over Israel or uh, Judah. Dates I've explained before, I've had to change them. Sometimes this is where I'm changing the king's names finally. These, like I said, the dates and times are according to our creator's hidden formats, and I spent 5 years, many 10 to 12-hour days, like for 5 years, to get to the text. And then when I got done, well, when I got to the last 2 years, I started working on these numbers in a king's timeline that it took a long time to get those kings straightened out, exactly the numbers to make it truthful. Okay, I'm going to remove that. It's not needed. Make the prophecies. It's what he was doing. Our creator speaking prophecies, but why that was prophecies were to this king and his priest. This guy here was meditating, having sex with the so-called female goddess, and putting her, his carved idol into his house for mating. So here the priests are corrupt at this time as well then, and he ruled for like 50 years, and his son after him did the same thing, and then the next king come along and he threw everything out and rebuilt or and the cleaning up, reassigning of a good priest. But as you know, they got overruled by the next king, did more evil, signed different priests, and then Babylon come down and took them away as well. Now, it was something I had to put in, and it was only because I got to come in and use this guy's name that he did write something at this time. But it's this when you read the story, it's going to say this is what he declared. But the thing here is he was the priest or the prophet that they did kill, and so when I was looking at the text of what the harshness of the words towards the king that might have got him upset, this was a good place to put his name in this prophecy as well. As young as I tried to really figure out the age of these guys and how long they ruled, that they have sons, and usually, it's the youngest. And it started with Solomon, okay, and then every king after that, pretty much through Judah, was always the youngest son. So I just wanted to make sure that was throughout the text. Again, thought of some reasonable words to put here, as it helps when you start reading that, okay, this is the correct order. You can see this is a piece that I stuck here. But that would have been before, back in the other, originally when I did Isaiah and reordered them. Um, and this would have had to be herds. Oxen would have been something that you have pinned in, so you can bring them to work in the field and then let them kind of not graze around all over the place, but it couldn't be just donkeys. Donkeys were for like pulling carts, riding to the market, things like that, or this has to be herds, meaning rams and goats. Again, I added it this time. I'm using this prophet instead of Isaiah. I think I started figuring out how old Isaiah was, and most of the prophets, literally, some died early, but the other thing is I've done an estimate, and they lived about 65 to 70 years old. But that's when our Creator would overlap and and have another prophet step forward, and then he would prophesy. So that's what's happening here. Remove this text. I moved those verses down and around, and his name here took this sentence, chopped it in half. Then I didn't need to get rid of this because this guy is noted above as the high priest uh, or a higher priest. And I made this guy, I changed his name before, but I'm going to take from him a scribe to the king's recorder because that way the story reads correct. Um, this guy, the highest priest. So couldn't be just gatekeepers. Everybody's a Levite. So I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that the Levites were in control of everything around his house, from the guards outside, everybody inside. And they were also the judges and lawyers and probably accountants. Um, and maybe even they were running businesses. Again, sure, they know things. Again, name change and then that text. A lot of times when I got like this, I just couldn't fit it in anywhere. It sounded good. It's part of the format. It's just a piece that they used, and I couldn't find a good enough place for some of these as well. This I moved down, so here I'm making a note that you can search those numbers or those letters, and you'll find that, and then go back up and go down. See, I moved them down here. These two groups, 1, 2, and then got rid of this one. Again, just kind of correcting the text. Getting rid of this word in the rest of the items. Um, yeah, this is them at that time pulling out all the stuff for the other god, sun god Rod, and everything for the goddess. And that would have been all the carvings that the priest and the king put in. So uh, this is the good king here. He gets a capital letter. Bad kings get a small letter to begin their name. More text I got rid of. I wanted to make sure it was mankind that took Jeroboam and then reassigned uh, for their power to exist, ruling over his house now. Um, like I said, got a good king, and then the son's too young, listens to the advisors that put him in, meaning they most likely killed off their other advisors and took over their positions that way. And then led his son astray. And I'm just keeping that theme through in here. Um, oh, it's got too many letters in it, too many words. I gotta check that. So I think I'll come back in here and edit it correctly. But when you review the video, that's the decision I made, but I'm not going to review it. Uh, Decided that was probably the blank, and then when I showed you that I added that prophet, he's now the prophet that's there at this time. It's kingdom, not lands. That's not right. Jeremiah is going to start being a prophet, so I will change those. This has to be in the nation. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to not make this video 45 minutes because I can see that if I did, the next one would be like 10 minutes. So I'm going to try to say at like page 50, you can't see it here. I'm on like 216 right now. At 250, because it's only up to through 293. So that's how I'm going to do the text there, or the video, splitting the video. And then I'll be done with this one, or the last video for this here. All these Psalms got added. I got the right prophet now. He is going to be a prophet later. And then comes, enters through Jerusalem. Yeah, I used a more precise word. Getting the right king. I shortened this king's name up, but got rid of the IA, so but that was before I changed his name. There's some text I got rid of. Yeah, this two stories were so similar, I just picked the other story. Um, so that's why that one is out. I hint to put that this prophet is from this area here. So usually they're from Judah, but there is a verse when they're talking to Jesus that no prophet come from Naphtali, where Jesus was from. So it was, you got to have profits coming from other places. So that's what I did there. The rain and the years. Um, so will be deserted. The land will be deserted, and very few people left on it. And this is prophecy coming from our Creator that Jesus will be still coming, folks. Like I'm using what is it? Oh, I tried. Yeah, these two grouped together where there's two here. So what I did was this one and this one are going to connect. So I felt all these words aren't needed to connect them. Um, because you can see this one little part is from Ezekiel and the other one's from Jeremiah. But like I said, I tried to fit every piece I could correctly. And it reads too good when I did that, by the way. Um, Rain, it was at the end of this king here. So I think it's the next king here's Zedekiah, who ends up uh, being blinded, taken to Babylon, and thrown in prison. How about the other kings that he collected? Thought it would, because it's the land I had by Bethlehem, but that would have been in Judah. This has to be from Benjamin's, because the story is he came to the courtyard where Jeremiah was being held, and this is him saying, I want to sell you the land, and you have it a right of redemption. That means when they come back, you're holding the deed, your descendants, if you have descendants, you have the land, or you can sell it. Just correcting the dates after I put the stories together that I realized that that was the best way to correct those numbers and why I left them alone until now. You've seen many videos that I did a lot of that on those numbers. Now here I've talked to you about um, this word here, harlotry, means they're meditating in their God's image with their harlotry um, abominations. That this here is um, the saying that it's a female goddess, but it's like another word like a for a whore, only it's a harlotry because she looks the same to everyone. Um, it's not really a she. Uh, it's actually Satan they're seeing. This was just a piece. I couldn't fit it in. Just couldn't fit it in. Because actually, a lot from Obadiah did fit in with David's time. And here we're at the last king, or second to last king for Judah. So This is the way I went with the next text. I want to make it easier to people to find and read later. So I think that's easy to say. Reading turns me, tear down your altars and idols, not throw them away. So it's talking about repenting, come back, and they still didn't listen. And I guess I didn't add as many of the, because I'm getting down to the end. I know that there's going to be a lot of Psalms that are going to be, you got to really search the text to search the Psalms to find out where that text come from, but I did make an error there by not labeling each one that I did. Gone too far already. This I moved up to here. I was trying to figure out what I got it moved up. Okay, here it is. Fire to everything, burn everything, not burn it with fire, but burn everything. And that means burn the whole city down. Your old goat. He needs to be not just go and prophesied. Herald my prophecy. And I don't care what the secular world says about what letter to use here. I really don't pay attention to it. 'Cause I did have to make a choice. All these things were going to be, so they're always the same. Thinking now that I might have used the letter C a couple times only. Hated, okay. Already have the story of him coming down. We're into the last king here. And it could be put to his temple. It had to go in the treasury for gold when I started reading this, and gold and silver in his palace, because his son, the Nebuchadnezzar's um, son, is going to use them. And it wouldn't be that they were in the temple, it had to be in the treasury because the amount of silver and gold that's in them items, um, not to tempt him, but Nebuchadnezzar put him in the treasury because that would have been something that would have been easy access for his son to say, go get them from the treasury. Usually the treasury was part of the palace. This is going to be moved, mesh with text below, but that's out and this is out. And then this got grouped and moved. So chained on your legs. I was trying to figure out how to do hands, chained around your hand or your wrist I was going to put in. Then I'm realizing, well, he doesn't need to lift them up all the time, the chains all the time. So it's on the leg that's keeping um, Jeremiah in the king's guard room at this time. And he's going to go free. He's going to send somebody to free him. And I had to add this because this is part of the story that's going to be later because he was going to get killed. I had to introduce him here and made sure that this guy and his men were known as a group that said, "We'll protect who's ever there," in the of the remnant. So these were guys that were in the army, hid, and then came back out, and then helped uh, because they only left a lot of the elderly, sick behind. So the thing here is some of these that are here have to had hidden themselves or tried to make friends with them, which would have been this guy here, because he was appointed governor. And I don't know if it's so he had to have some position somewhere. And then when they captured him, he probably didn't give up with a fight, just turned himself over to the entrance. I had to make the story read truthfully. How things would have played out. A lot of cities were burned down. It seems like this one city that they're at, they really didn't burn it down, so it's still there and usable. And that's how they set up. I guess Babylon would say, well, we got to have this guy's got to control, so we can't burn down everything. But that way, everybody will come there because it's established. So it was on the banks where when he was found, not in the fields. Uh, when you look at pictures of Jordan today, it's down so far from sea level that the sides are nothing but like desert. And then the river Jordan's down here at the bottom, and then there's this green around them. So it's not really like they had fields. It would have been on the banks of the Jericho. Like they ran into the wooded area, but they didn't get across. So that's how I'm uh, making the text read. That might get added by the banks or by the. I know I still needed. I, I can't put the words in there like forestry by the. Uh, yeah. I guess that's something that's still in my mind when I read it. That I know that I'm probably make a change. So like a field, all of I wanted to make it this time is when you glean it. So the thing here is yeah, it was the left, yeah, left a remnant. So it's more or less at harvest time because it wouldn't have been just the fields; it would have been the trees and the fruits and stuff like that. So I wanted to include all of whatever they were growing was included here. I think I had a blank here and I filled it in countryside and streets. I might change that to roads later. Got rid of that. Getting rid of the word cursed, using the word mocked, trying to keep the word cursed special for in the use of one of the 12 commandments. Okay, I did add all the Psalms in here. So I did good there. So that's quite a few Psalms that I was able to put in there. Now we got Daniel. Should be pretty clean. It was easy enough to understand. This is where our creator's light. I've made notes that he lives within his light, because this is a vision of darkness, and he lives within his light. And I made a video about proof of afterlife, self proof of afterlife, and I tell you how our creator made me see him 7 of the 8 times in his light, what his light means. Okay, sir, slow and stuff. Okay, well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop right here in Daniel, and then stop this video because the other one would just be too short. But this one's still 36 minutes, so it's close. But I didn't want to make one that's only 10 minutes.